Kyola Bhakti Prabhu? This one? No. Does this go to Maharaj? Shall I use this?
Yeah, you can use it.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Shri Shri Radha Madhav Hari Dham. On behalf of our presiding deities, Shri Shri Radha Madhav Hari, we are happy that you joined us for a very special 3-day program. So we start this evening for a Japa retreat program with His Holiness Romapada Swami. Maharaj has been giving classes for a few days, and it's our good fortune that we are going to have another Japa retreat this weekend. So the title for this Japa retreat is Chanting with Enthusiasm, Patience and Confidence. And this evening's class is Enthusiasm, Determination and Patience in Japa. So that is going to be this evening. After the class, there's going to be prasadam served. And then tomorrow morning we have Mangala Arati, and at 7 o'clock after deity greeting and Guru Puja, at 7 o'clock we are going to have a class by His Holiness Romapada Swami again, offering with love from the heart. 7:30. Oh, 7:30. Thank you, Maharaj. And then after breakfast, we have a special guest speaker, His Grace Yamuna Jivan Das. He's from Chicago. He's one of our God brothers, and he has a very special class. It's going to be in 2 parts. Japa Journey Map. Part 1 is at 10:15 after breakfast, and then part 2 is after lunch, 2:30. Japa Journey Map. It's really a very, very nice class, and I think it's a very inspiring class, and I hope that you all can join. And Prabhu gives it very nicely as well, and there's also some breakout sessions, I believe, in there. So, and there's a small slide show as well. Small. Okay. And so we are very happy to have Prabhu here. And then on Sunday we continue with our Japa retreat. Then at 4 o'clock tomorrow we have another class by His Holiness Romapada Swami. It's going to be question why. So that's at 4 o'clock. And after that, Gaur Arati and Nam Yagya and Prasadam. And then on Sunday, we have a 64-round day where we attempt to chant 64 rounds. And in the previous years, we've found that some newcomers and children have been able to chant 64 rounds. So if you are new, if you're already chanting, if you want to start chanting, it's the time to join these classes and join us on Sunday for a special 64-round Japa day. And as I said, even children have managed to chant more than 64 rounds. So it's please come and join us and try it. And then so we have a short class in the morning at 7:30 here with our spiritual ear. And then the Japa continues from Mangala Arati onwards with a brief break in between for breakfast and class and so forth. And then in the evening we have a 4 o'clock class sharing reflections, and then Arati, Gaur Arati, and then we're going to have honoring Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and an initiation. So we are going to be fasting till noon on Sunday, those of you who can, but there will be prasadam available for those who can't. And then we'll be doing a Pushpanjali as well on Sunday at noon. And in the evening there's a class by Maharaj for an initiation, as well as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disappearance day. And then there's prasadam after that. All the schedules are on some boards here in the temple room, and also on our Facebook page and our web page and the WhatsApp groups as well. Thank you so much. Without taking much of your time, I'm going to give the mic over to Maharaj. Please give Maharaj a warm welcome. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. How many persons here have never attended a Japa retreat before? First time? Okay. I hope you have a nice time. In principle, the purpose of an event like this is to take something that's very simple and connect with something that will, the kata and association and sound vibration, that will help you to elevate whatever the position that one is in, to elevate that to another level, at least for the weekend that we're together. And many persons shared with me from the last year's Japa retreat, there's the impact has been a year-long impact. So a lot can go in depending upon eagerness for your hearing and receiving and then participating. So let's see how it goes. And for those of you that are newcomers, if something comes up that's so new you want it covered again a little bit more, don't hesitate, speak something. This phrase, that's the topic for today, this evening, enthusiasm, determination, patience. It's a nice photograph. It's ingredients for cooking. So these three phrases, utsahandishchayat dhairyat, it comes from Rupa Goswami and his Upadesh Amrita, or Nectar of Instruction, translated in English. Very short statements, essence statements in a series, and it's a very short book and very meaningful book. So one of those verses in Nectar of Instruction is verse number 3, and verse number 3 reads, as you see on the screen, the first one is utsahan, that's the enthusiasm part, and nishchayad, endeavoring with confidence, and dhairyat, being patient. Here's the whole, let's say the verse together, those of you that know the verse. Utsahan nishchayad dhairyat tat karma pravartanat sangatyagat sato vrite shadbhir bhakti prasidyati. So prasidyati is perfection. Prasidyati, siddha, perfection. Bhakti prasidyati. These should be, these 6, assure perfection, complete success in devotional services, Prabhupada's translation. So we're going to focus on these ones that are color-coded. Enthusiastic, enthusiasm, and with confidence, and with patience. Now, and here's a nice little graphic. Graphics are a help. Picture speaks 1,000 words, right? So there's a tree, and at the bottom of a tree there's a root structure. And normally we don't see the root structure because it's under the earth, but here's a photograph of a tree where the root structure is exposed. And similarly, there are qualities of our participation in chanting, or participation in life, or participation in devotional service that are subtle, principle-based, and one may not so readily, visibly see those principles, but you can see what the effect is, just like the root structure is the basis and support of the tree. One of my friends lives in California, And he's really into trees. He's really into nature. And one of the things he showed me was how sequoia trees work. Giant sequoia trees that grow hundreds of feet tall and last for hundreds of years. And he said, see over here, there's this little thing coming out of the ground. And that's a new, not yet matured sequoia tree. Because sequoia trees grow not by seeds, but they grow from roots. Anyway, this is just a detail. But he walked over and ruffled the top of a little baby sequoia tree. He said, "Where'd this guy come from?" From that guy, from that tree. It's because underneath you can't see. That's the point. It's something you can't see, but there's just, and that's how they have such a tall trees. They have a very vast root structure that supports this tall tree, and it gets bigger and bigger and more roots, and then one tree intertwines with the roots of another tree, and so you get a forest, a sequoia forest, and they last for a long time. Besides, very tall and very sturdy. And when they fall, it's kind of sad because they get really old and just they also die. So in varying degrees, there are these principles that help bhakti, because Shadbir Bhakti, prasiddhyati, can bring about perfection. Here's the first three. There's an interconnection between these first three. One graphic to show. Enthusiasm, that's the first one. Utsaha, enthusiasm. And this enthusiasm is the beginning. It turns the next one. Enthusiasm helps one to be determined. You could say it, without enthusiasm, you're not going to stay determined. With enthusiasm, look at then what is enthusiasm. We'll explore what that means. It's not passion, it's something else. Determination helps one to be determined. And this determination enables patience while still being enthusiastic and determined, because you're patient for the outcome. It sounds a little, when I first heard this, it sounds a little bit like go and stop. Enthusiasm and patience. But it's not. It's enthusiasm sustained over time, and with confidence that it's going to produce what you want. And that's sadhana, or that's abhyasa, or the three principles Patanjali teaches in his Yoga Sutras of a definition of what practice is. It's right here. The language is different, the principles are the same. So let's start. There's going to be interactive sessions. So get ready for 3, because there are 3 points. An interactive session means somebody near, proximate to you, or somebody, or a few somebodies, or however you want to divide, will be discussing each of these 3 points. So listen carefully. Enthusiasm. One, Ralph Waldo Emerson, those of you from America, you know that fellow. He's an American author. Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. So there's something great in awakening our dormant love for Krishna. That's the greatest of great things. And enthusiasm is essential. Now, one time I was attending a discussion on this verse in the presence of Bhakti Chaitanya Swami. Some of you may have heard his name, some of you may know him. He is based in Durban, South Africa. He's been there for umpteen years. And before that, he was from England. And he was, when describing this utsahan principle, he gave this example. The utsahamai is false enthusiasm. So he gave the example of one time George Harrison was coming to visit the Bhaktivedanta Manor. George Harrison, you know George Harrison. Everybody knows George Harrison. Celebrity. And he was coming to visit the Bhaktivedanta Manor. And he chauffeured limousine, the limousine stopped, and he was walking from the limousine towards the manor. And a nice young devotee saw him coming, and with enthusiasm, he wanted to pay obeisances to George Harrison. But it was London. It was big puddles all over the place, and he sprawled himself out right in the middle of a puddle and stood up dripping with water and mud and folded palms. And George Harrison said, "You didn't have to do that." So that's what the image is showing. That's enthusiasm misplaced. Endeavor, here's what enthusiasm really is. Endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called utsaha, or enthusiasm. Nice definition. Say it again. Endeavor, executed, so it's activity, executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called utsaha, or enthusiasm. Different from utsaha mayi, or overconfidence, or over-enthusiastic, or paying obeisances in mud puddles. That's the utsaha mayi. Not so intelligent, not the best kind of enthusiasm. So what's intelligence in Krishna consciousness mean? Let's unpack that a little bit. Guess what? It's right in Jiva Goswami's writings. Would you like to hear? Say yes. So, as many of you, some of you may be really new, and those of you that are really new, you may need an introduction. Anybody here need an introduction to who is Jiva Goswami? Oh, come on. Jiva Goswami, okay, sure. Jiva Goswami is one of the principal associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And you'll assume everybody here knows who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you don't know, ask somebody. One of the 6 principal associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Vrindavan was Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami was such an erudite scholar. He wrote many books. He wrote 4 different commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada, the Bhaktivedanta purports for the 12 cantos. He did one of those, verse by verse, and then he did 3 others. Commentaries. Anyway, so one of those commentaries is the Sandarbhas, 6 in number, and then it's the commentaries by topic. And there's 6 principal topics that he covered. One of those 6 principal topics is Bhakti, Sandarbha. That's what we're discussing, Krishna Bhakti and chanting. So here's his explanation of what in Bhakti Sandarbha 236. You can look it up later if you like. There are 2 methods of taking shelter of the Lord, positive and negative. By announcing that one has no other shelter, and by giving up other means of shelter using good intelligence. It's quite similar to Prabhupada's explanation of what real enthusiasm is. Endeavor with intelligence in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada's statement is drawing from Jiva Goswami. So, things that are unwanted, giving them up with spiritual intelligence, and accepting one shelter only. Because most people that don't have one shelter only, namely Krishna, they have other shelters, like many attachments, many, not in relation to Krishna, just in relation to, the expectation for happiness by shelter in something. So to support this one statement, he has two references. First, this is from Uddhava Gita section of Srimad Bhagavatam. What's Uddhava Gita? Uddhava Gita is like Bhagavad Gita, except Krishna speaking to Uddhava instead of Krishna speaking to Arjuna. So the Bhagavad Gita is described as undergraduate study. The Bhagavatam is graduate study. So in other words, the points that Krishna is speaking to Uddhava, it's more complete and comprehensive and elaborate than the shorter version that's more essence related than elaborate related. So that's the Uddhava Gita, 11th canto, later chapters. Krishna is speaking to Uddhava. Oh, Uddhava, give up the Shruti and Smriti. What's that? New people. Shruti and Smriti. Shruti means the Vedas that are heard, and Smriti means that which explains the Vedas that are heard. They're both Vedic within the vast body of literature called the Vedas. There are these two parts, Shruti, Smriti. That which is heard, Shruti. Smriti, that which is explaining the Shrutis. Give up the path of enjoyment and the path of renunciation. What's left? Give up the desire to hear more about Dharma. What's left? And what you have already heard about Dharma, give that up too. Surrender to me alone, the soul of all beings, using all methods with bhakti in your mind. You will be fearless by my mercy. So this is a scriptural example of leaving aside other shelters and accepting only one shelter. In the same section, later chapter, O Lord, this is now Uddhava speaking to Krishna, for one who is being tormented on the terrible path of birth and death and is constantly overwhelmed by the threefold miseries, I do not see any shelter other than your two lotus feet, which are like a refreshing umbrella that pours showers of nectar. Now, umbrellas keep the rain away, but the shelter, the umbrella of Krishna's lotus feet, pours in showers of nectar. It's a nice umbrella. So, leaving aside other shelters and accepting only one shelter. That's the surrender. That's sharanagati. In some of you may be familiar with Ramayana. And those of you that are familiar with Ramayana, these same points are made, exact same points. It's when Vibhishan takes shelter, and then the commentators of Sri Vaishnavism, they like Ramayana very much, and they explain the principle of Vibhishan taking shelter. He left the shelter, there was no shelter, he left the so-called shelter of being the loyal younger brother of Ravana, and he took there's only one shelter. He took shelter of Lord Ramachandra, leaving aside others and accepting only one. And there's only one. There's not multiple, there's one. Source of everything. Taking shelter there. When we recognize that there is no other shelter, that is intelligence. That's Jiva Goswami's commentary on this Bhakti Sandarbha verse, or section. That's endeavor with intelligence. Utsaha. Now, maybe if you've seen this painting before, this is a painting of one of the ways in which Hiranyakashipu wanted to kill his son. And the painting is, he had his son taken to a cliff, and some fellows toss him off the cliff to the jagged rocks below to kill him, his son. He was not a nice father, not a nice man. And when Prahlad was being tossed over the cliff, he didn't scream. He had full confidence that he would be protected. Now, we don't have that kind of confidence, and we're not Prahlad either. But in his case, as he was falling, there's commentary on this passage from 7th Canto Bhagavatam. The commentary says, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Krishna didn't immediately show himself as the painting shows. He's awaiting Prahlad to catch him so he wouldn't hit the jagged rocks below. The Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna wanted to see, is he going to cry out? Is he going to scream? Is he going to panic? How is he going to respond to this danger? I mean, he was there. He was going to protect him in any case, but he just wanted to see what's in his heart. But he was feeling fully protected, and Lord Vishnu was there and caught him. So on this topic of intelligence, endeavor with intelligence, did Prahlad have any other shelter in this circumstance? Definitely not. There's the verse from the Bhagavatam. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Now this is not during this event. It's later Lord Shringadev appeared and finished Hiranyakashipu. Prahlad is offering prayers to Lord Shringadev, saying, I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. So he didn't have any other shelter, he had only one shelter. That's the backwards and forwards. Now, material intelligence is different than spiritual intelligence. Very, very different. And there's limitation to our material intelligence. Now, science has a robust and ever-growing bodies of knowledge and wisdom and science. Still, how much mystery surrounds material existence? What to speak of spiritual existence? I'm going to tell a little story. Stories help to understand things. Once upon a time when I was a high school senior, so a few years ago, my mother was a school teacher. Haribo, nice to see you. My mother was a school teacher, and I was a student in the same school, and she knew about the American Field Service, AFS, nice name. And AFS was an exchange program where someone from our school would go to another country, someone from another country would come to our school. Long story short, someone came to stay in the same room that I stayed. His name was Ken Ijiri from Japan. And wow, he was bright. I mean, he was genius. He wasn't just bright. And I thought he felt under-challenged because our school didn't match what he was capable of doing. And we graduated. He got his senior year degree like I did, and I went this way, he went that way. Many years later, he contacted me and said, "Can I visit you in New York?" Because I was in New York at the time, and I just finished my third PhD. His first PhD was in math, his second PhD was in physics, and his third PhD was in biochemistry. And he had just, at University of Wisconsin in Madison, he had just completed his third. And he wanted to come, he had just graduated, so he wanted to go see the Statue of Liberty. I didn't tell him I've never gone to the Statue of Liberty, but I said, sure, I can take you to the Statue of Liberty. Let's go. And so we're riding in the subway, going to, from the temple. He didn't stay at the temple, he stayed somewhere. And we're going from the temple to the southern end of Manhattan to go to see the Statue of Liberty. And so we're riding in the subway. I very clearly remember the scene. What's your PhD in? Cell division of a frog? Cells of a frog divide from one cell to two cells. So using math, physics, and biochemistry, how does it happen? From, mechanistic science point of view. I didn't comment. I said, I paused and said, what if the reason there's one cell becomes two cells is another soul enters and thereby there can be two cells? And he gave me a very honest answer, which I was surprised at the honesty. He said, as a scientist, we can't even discuss that topic. He didn't say yes or no. He just said, it's not in our domain. So spiritual answers are not in the domain of material science. Material science, as the statement is here, the mysteries of material existence, what to speak of spiritual reality, it's beyond. It's just beyond. It's not their fault. It's just it's not, the mind and senses can't touch spirit, so they can't study it. It was an honest answer. Some scientists aren't honest. He was very honest. Here's some examples. For example, body is self-healing. And the self-healing body is housed by a soul. It itself is mysterious. One time, stories help to understand things. One time I had an ear problem because I had this wax in my ear that I couldn't hear. So I made a doctor's appointment. And before the doctor's appointment, this big glob of black, yucky stuff came out in my ear. So then I could hear again. But I went to the appointment anyways because I had an appointment. And so the doctor said, what's the problem? And I said, I made the appointment when I had wax in my ears. I didn't even know what the problem was, but then this big thing came out. And he said, the body is self-healing. Then he did his thing with, to put in the light in my ear and looked around, and I don't know what he saw. Body is self-healing. Now, how does that happen? Certainly the body is self-deteriorating, but how does it self-healing? Who knows? And how does the soul get in there? The material science can't address that question. They don't, and they cannot. There's no physical law that explains the micro and macro phenomena simultaneously. I mean, it's a problem in science, but they can't, there's no formula, there's no theory, there's no anything, no physical law. What's the cause of cancer and many other diseases? They don't know. Maybe, we're working on it, that kind of post-dated check answer. How does an apple tree know to pick specific elements on earth to create apples? There are many mysteries in the field of matter, what to speak of beyond matter. And then what to speak of what happens after this life. Conclusion, the reason of going through this little exercise is we need shelter. Because where we're going next, including where we are today and how we're preparing for where we're going next, people make all kinds of plans, isn't it? From what, I do this all the time. What's your best subject in school? Math. And a little bit science, but mainly math. So and then, where's that go? And then where's that go? And then where's that go? And, I met somebody yesterday at ASU. Was it yesterday? Day before yesterday. And, I know her mother and father. They're from Seattle. She's at ASU. She's just finishing her undergraduate study. What's next? She's got a next. It's not like we shouldn't make plans. But as we make plans, what's next and what's next? What's next? And what are we doing about that? The ultimate destination of the soul. Who are we now and where we're going after this life? There has to be shelter. That's the point. There has to be real shelter. Now, real shelter with enthusiasm, here's not real shelter. There's no real shelter when you feel chanting is because it's obligatory. I have to chant. Oh no, I have to chant my rounds before the end of the day. This may be a thought that habitually enters one's mind. The have to mentality interferes with one's enthusiastic approach to one's relationship with the Holy Name. So emphasis is relationship with the Holy Name. We'll be hearing more about this as we go. Put yourself in Krishna's shoes. If your child comes to you thinking, I have to spend time with mom and dad because it's compulsory. It's not the same as if they want to. They're with mom and dad because they want to. Then there's the positive, because it's an opportunity. That's ideal. That's enthusiasm. I chant because I want to chant. I'm choosing to spend time with Krishna. This is my special time with my intimate friend, my well-wisher, super powerful person. You'll waking up in the morning and anticipating, yay, another opportunity to associate with Krishna directly in a very focused manner early in the morning like this with the Holy Name. That's enthusiasm, endeavoring with intelligence. Here's Srila Prabhupada. One should accept this opportunity to return back home, back to Godhead, very enthusiastically. A student, a businessman, artist, or anyone else who wants success in life must be enthusiastic. It's something like Emerson's. Nothing wonderful happens without enthusiasm. So you're going to see this slide a few times. Get used to it. It's a nice slide. It's a nice image. This is one of our ISKCON sannyasis has this on his, he calls it his Japa table, and it's a meditation for him. Each of us may have our own special something. But I inspired by both the image and the message. Be present and know I am here with you. So something that may help you, something that helps me, is in long term, is being present with the Holy Name. I'll tell another little Prabhupada story. In deity worship, many of you have heard, Prabhupada said there are two most important things. What are those two most important things in deity worship? Cleanliness and punctuality. Those of us that have been around for a while know that those are two instructions. And I was repeating this in one class, and one Jivanasati raised her hand, Prabhupada disciple, and said she heard from Jamuna that Prabhupada gave a third item, and that's being present. Cleanliness, punctuality, and be present. Because be present covers lots of territory. It's like, don't be distracted. You can be punctual and clean and be distracted. Be present, not distracted. Be present and know I am here with you. It says a lot in a few words. So this is a nice image I like. A nice way to stay with the holy name while you're chanting the holy name. Here's some additional teachings from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The image is the painting of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and in Sri Bhaktiloka he is describing a number of things, but the principles of Rupa Goswami, like this principle of enthusiasm, the principles of Upadesha Amrita elaborated upon, and he called it Sri Bhaktiloka. We should not lose enthusiasm because we have no strength to destroy the reactions of karma. We should expect to experience the following in the flickering stages. Now here's the unsteady bhakti stages. Utsaha, Mayi, Ganatala, Vyudha, Vikalpa, etc. These are elaborately discussed, what the terms mean and how they impact us and how to overcome them. In this Sri Bhaktiloka, it's a nice book. Very clear, concise. Enthusiasm is the only support for all types of devotional service. By enthusiastically performing devotional service, one can give up anishtata, or unsteady. Nishtha is steady. The unsteady is that which these disturbances. And one can be going beyond the disturbances by enthusiasm. That's what he's saying, or writing. In a very short time, and thus attain nishtata, all anarthas. Now there's some Sanskrit terms, and if there's newer people, I'll have to explain. Anarthas means things unwanted. Artha and anartha. You know. Commonly, people think of artha as economic development, as in dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Dharma for the purpose of prosperity, artha. And what's prosperity for? Kama, sense gratification. And at the end, good luck, moksha, liberation. So follow dharma because it gives these nice fruits. Artha, kama, moksha. Be a dharmic person. So remember that reference that Krishna was speaking to Uddhava. Give up your fastidiousness, you're being super absorbed in dharma, and whatever you think dharma is, and whatever you had learned about it in the past. Leave that aside and just do this one thing. Take shelter of Krishna. All anarthas are vanquished by performing devotional service with enthusiasm. The word shraddha is certainly faith, but enthusiasm is the life of shraddha, the interconnection. Faith without enthusiasm is meaningless. Faith without enthusiasm is meaningless. Many people think they have faith in God, but because they have no enthusiasm, their faith has no meaning. It's, fanaticism. Because there's no intelligence, because there's no place of real shelter. There's no enthusiasm, therefore. Fanaticism is not utsaha. Now, Prabhupada was such a enthusiastic person. He's writing a letter to a god brother, November 1965. I am in due receipt of your letter of 17 instant, and although it is not very encouraging, I'm still, I'm not a man to be disappointed. Prabhupada got encouragement and got discouragement, and he was steadfast regardless, because there was shelter. With endeavor, with enthusiasm, he had real shelter. Now, what about us? What about if we're not feeling enthusiastic? Utsaha. What are you supposed to do? Be enthusiastic. It's like Prabhupada was asked, Swamiji, how to become sincere? Prabhupada, Everybody knows what sincere means. Just be sincere. That's how you be sincere. By practicing being sincere, you become sincere. By practicing anything, you become that anything. So Prabhupada would say, even if you're not feeling enthusiasm, dance. Because when you dance, you feel enthusiasm. It's true. It's true. I'm going to, little story. Stories help embellish and understand things. I'm currently involved in reading or hearing a narration of Mukunda Goswami. The title of his book is Miracle on 26 or Miracle on Second Avenue. That's the title of his book. And there's a section where after establishing ISKCON in 26 Second Avenue, he and others went to San Francisco and established a temple in San Francisco from nothing to a temple. And then Prabhupada sent 3 devotee couples to go to England and start a temple in England. 1, 2, 3. So there they are in England. And England, they're Americans, so England is very different. The culture and people and manners and even the police, they're very different. So one day they were deciding, we're not getting a lot of headway doing something in a little storefront or a little living space. So let's try going out into the public and chanting. Yeah, let's go in the public and chanting. Prabhupada did that, so let's do that. So they went to Trafalgar Square. I'd never been there. Maybe some of you have been there. There's a bigger than life statue of Lord Nelson. So they sat, 6 of them, having kirtan in Trafalgar Square, first time in the public. And a big crowd came, whoa, and a lot of police came, whoa. And the police were different than New York and San Francisco police. They didn't just, put them in a paddy wagon. They could have, but they were a little more gentle. And, they asked for the leader, and they spoke to the leader and said, this isn't permitted, so you're going to have to move along. Something like that. So they struck out. And then they had this old car. They got into the old car and it started raining. And they were going to go back to the place where they stay. And then some of the members said, let's try another place. But it's raining. It just started to rain. This is London. And there was this uncertainty. Sometimes we meet little patches of uncertainty called our Arjuna moments. And so there's this little section where they went back and forth and back, they're riding in the car, and then the solution was the shelter. The solution is, if we were to report to Prabhupada, we went back, or we reported to Prabhupada that even it was starting to rain, we got kicked out of Trafalgar Square, and we went on anyways, what would Prabhupada want us to do? What would please our spiritual master, our place of shelter? Because that's why they're there in London to begin with. Prabhupada sent them. So then they were clear. Even, it's not heavy rain, so they went to another place, something place. And one man came, this elderly gentleman that knew India, and he knew Bhagavad Gita, and he eventually became a devotee. And they were like, wow. The message is, if you're not feeling enthusiasm, be enthusiastic. If you're not feeling, you're not feeling I'm sincere, be sincere. We all know what we all know what sincerity is. So you act according to the place of shelter. In this case, you see Prabhupada. He's dancing, so everyone's dancing. Maybe some of you know who some of these people are. Bahodak and this Swami and that Swami, and they're happy because Prabhupada is pleased. The occasion is, you can see in the background, it's a Rath Yatra. So now this is the end of this section on enthusiasm, utsaha, and it's asking you to get together in a little discussion. And you read what's on the screen. Sometimes when we chant, why do we chant? What moves us to chant? What's the enthusiasm behind? Is it maybe fear of the consequences if we don't, etc., etc.? Here's another little image. During our 64-round day in one center, I won't say where, this is one young fellow, he was like, oh boy. It's 64-round day and I've already chanted 3 rounds and I'm really lacking enthusiasm. Okay, this is the interactive section. Take 3-5 minutes. Find somebody that you want to have a conversation with, or a few people. And on the count of 3, you can begin. 1, 2, 3. Discussion. See what's on the screen, discuss what's on the screen. We're going to do this 2 more times. Try to finish up. Because we're going to do this 2 more times, I suggest this group of ladies, that's 10 of you, break into 2 groups. Because you'll get more traction by spreading it around a little bit. So utsahan, then comes patience. Patience is the English translation. Here's the etymology of the English word patience. It comes from the Latin word patientia, or endurance or suffering, or continuing to go through some difficult time, and even as difficult you endure because you have this quality of patience. The Sanskrit word is dhairyat, utsahan nishchayat dhairyat. Dhairyat means similar. Sobriety, patience. Other persons become restless, those that don't have dhairyat or adhira. You know, the mind can become restless. Have patience, all things are difficult before they become easy. A common saying. Take shelter of the holy name, and it may take some time. Krishna will help in his own time and in his own way. And that's the experience of those that really strive to take shelter, like be present with the holy name, and something happens. We'll hear more about this as we go on. One can't snap one's fingers and summon Krishna to fix everything. Or you can't hurry Krishna. Something that a phrase that's my phrase, and I like this phrase, anything genuine takes time. Here's Srila Prabhupada on this topic of dhairyat. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Indeed, this Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly, and in the beginning there was no response. But because we continued to execute our devotional activities with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement, and now they are eagerly participating. Dhairyat. Here's another nice little example. This is a Greek philosopher who tells the story of a butterfly. So he saw, it's like short, he saw a tree, and on the tree was a cocoon, and on the cocoon it looked like the butterfly that was in the cocoon was starting to hatch and come out of the cocoon. So he watched the event of nature. How did the caterpillar know how to make a cocoon, and how did he know he's going to come out a butterfly, and who knows how he got that technology. But he was coming out of but it was taking some time. So this gentleman, this Greek philosopher, started to blow hot, warm breath on the cocoon so that the butterfly could come out more easily. He thought it was like helping. So what happened was, indeed, the butterfly came out, but his wings weren't developed yet. He had like crippled wings. And so he tried to breathe on the caterpillar with his crippled wings, the butterfly with his crippled wings, and it didn't help because it would have taken some more time had he not breathed with that warm air on the cocoon. And so in short time, the butterfly died in the palm of his hand. And he writes, it's one of the incidents of my life that I have profound regret for because I wasn't patient. So then it's it. The teaching, his philosophy is everything takes its time. Nature has its way of developing things in due course of time. And bhakti also has its way of developing things in due course of time. All in good time. Another little anecdote, once upon a time I was a kid, a few years ago. And I grew up in upstate New York, and my father, he liked gardening a lot. He spent a fair amount of time in the garden. He liked gardening. And one of the things that we did in summer times, because upstate New York there's apples and peaches, and they were places that allowed us to go and pick apples and pick peaches. So then my father got this nice idea, let's have a peach tree in our backyard, because we had a backyard. So he planted a peach tree in the backyard. And I remember looking at the peach tree, where are the peaches? And I was told, be patient. So 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, no peaches. And then suddenly these little green things, they didn't become full peaches, they just, something. Then after 5 years, then there were peaches. There were abundant peaches all over the place in one tree. And, it was a good lesson. Besides, my father knew what he was doing. It takes time for peach trees to produce peaches. It takes time for nature to produce. It takes time for spiritual practice to produce its fruit. So, how to enable patience? Sometimes we're impatient. And sometimes the matter of the circumstances may be difficult, and so rather than beating yourself up, because some people do that, self-destruction, is you accept the circumstance and you move in the direction of something you can do practically. It's just a lesson of guiding your emotions with intelligence. And then you do those things that you can do well, that aren't debilitated by circumstance or capabilities or something. And gradually, the ability comes. And that ability comes in part by embracing that which gifts Krishna has given you, and you develop those things. And even like this thing of being enthusiastic when you don't have enthusiasm. There are many cases, I'll give a one or two. When Prabhupada would engage devotees in doing something they had never done before. Not because they had a propensity to do something, but some cases, at least, he engaged people in doing something he had never done before. And artwork was one of them, because Prabhupada wanted, we didn't have deities, so there was paintings. So there was a whole group of devotees, like a handful of devotees, that he engaged in making Panchatattva paintings. Besides like posters, he wanted paintings, so they could have a paint, he called it Guru Gauranga altar. That was the Gauranga altar, Panchatattva. And, they're really primitive. A little bit more than stick figures, but not much more. And that's how things started. And some of the devotees asked Prabhupada, and then painting for the books. So some of the devotees asked Prabhupada, should we take art lessons? I never had a paintbrush in my hand before. And Prabhupada's answer was, no. You just paint with devotion, and Krishna will give the ability. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana. Lord Brahma has designed this body in such a way. You practice at something with devotion, you become qualified to do that something. And to develop that something when you don't necessarily have this innate ability, like some people can sing very nicely and they practice and they sing very nicely. The ability to be patient is largely dependent on one's recognition and self-acceptance of the qualities and faults within, because we have both. I do not loathe myself, impatient with my defects, nor do I have a glorified view of myself, satisfied with complacency. I'm accepting and earnestly pursuing, this is endeavor with intelligence, earnestly pursuing a transcendental objective, the result of which is beyond my control. It requires faith, obviously, to do something that's beyond the gaze of your inspection. Like spirit, who has seen spirit? Or who has seen what's beyond the universe? There's this whole discussion about Gnosticism, and it's a whole branch of Greek philosophy where they not only became interested in astronomy and things that you can see with your senses, but what's beyond. A whole field, Gnosticism. Curiosity of what you can't see, and how do you know what you can't see? If you can't see it or know it with your mind, how do you know it? That's a nice question. When it's revealed from that place, then the Vedas, then you can know. But the result is beyond our control. But you do things with enthusiasm. It's beyond your control. But you're patient because this third item, which is there's going to get me to where I want to go. Confidence. Here's a nice photograph of a young bird that the wings aren't developed yet. And I don't know if you've had the experience of hearing a young bird that doesn't have wings yet. They make a lot of noise. And like constant noise, because they're hungry, but they don't have the wings to go get their own food, so they're dependent on mama bird to come bring whatever it is that is going to be their food. Here's this phrase again. We can't hurry Krishna. We're dependent on mercy, like wingless baby bird awaiting the arrival of their parent bird from afar with food. Here's the Bhagavatam verse that teaches this. O lotus-eyed Lord, as baby birds that have not yet developed their wings always look for their mother to return and feed them, as small calves tied with ropes await anxiously the time of milking, when they will be allowed to drink the milk from their mothers, or as a morose wife whose husband is away from home always longs for him to return and satisfy her in all respects, I always yearn for the opportunity to render direct service unto you. Nice verse. Now, the whole of the Bhagavatam is inducing or inspiring devotion to the Supreme. And this is a nice verse that's indicating. And it's the same with our chanting of the holy name. This kind of internal mood of reception goes against the grain of modern encouragement. If you can do it, you can achieve, etc. We can't do Japa. That's a futile endeavor. Rather, we can receive Krishna's association. This is that same principle of impatience because Krishna is there. And how do I know Krishna is there? Teaching says, acharyas tell us, and you take it up and something happens. You feel the presence of Krishna, if you're eager for the presence of Krishna. Again, same point on patience. This is from Bhakti Loka. We already were introduced to what that book is. Patience is extremely necessary. Symptoms of patience or dharyat: being able to control 6 urges. It's right in Rupa Goswami's writings, this nectar of instruction. Unregulated speech results in enmity with others by talking about them. It is not possible to conquer anger or other urges by intelligence alone in very short time. Attachment for sense enjoyment overcomes the functions of the intelligence and gives anger a place in his kingdom. The mind is conquered, like the Avanti Brahmana, by remaining firmly fixed in the service of Mukunda. Now, this is from Bhakti Loka, and newer people here may not know about the Avanti Brahman story, but it's in the 11th canto Bhagavatam. And it's a story, it's a factual story of one Brahmana who was misunderstood. And he was so detached from worldly anything that people thought he was a madman. In Avantipur. He was considered an avaduta, like a madman. And so they teased him and taunted him and said nasty things, and he remained undisturbed because he was fixed in the lotus feet in the service of Mukunda. And when they saw how transcendental he was, despite this and that, then they started asking him, and finally he spoke, because he wasn't speaking anything. And when he spoke, they went, wow. Because he had a place of shelter. Here's a few more references, and I'm a little concerned about time because it's 20 minutes after 8. And I'm only like a little more than halfway through. So, some of you may not know there's a Govardhan Retreat Center in Govardhan Hill. This painting, or this photo is a photo of Govardhan Hill. And he, Purijan Prabhu, and Sachinanda Swami organized this Japa retreat, like extensive Japa retreat. And here's from his book, Purijan's book on Japa. It's very simple. From Shikshastaka, the book is taking the message of Shikshastaka and drawing from it the principles of good japa. Many devotees struggle with chanting because before they can take shelter of Krishna's name, they have to travel through the desert of seeing the truth about themselves, that they have little sincerity and no taste, that their mind is uncontrolled and filled with anarthas, and that they have no power to help themselves. This stage is necessary because it convinces us that we have nothing to depend on except Krishna's holy name. Now, maybe you know some devotees that have a struggle like that. They feel the negativity, that was this other self-deprecation thing. Maybe you're one of them. It's just, maybe those persons aren't even here, but it's sometimes just a struggle to get started and get robust and strong in chanting. And so those that are going through that, sometimes it's up and sometimes it's down phase, what to do? You take shelter of Krishna's name. This patience and endeavor with enthusiasm. Both. Only when we understand this fact can we chant with full heart. This is from his Japa book. And I'm not sure how to handle the time factor here. This is a nice painting of Narada Muni when he was a little boy. This and that and the other thing happened. He got some training and teaching from the Bhaktivedantas. They gave him a mantra and he chanted his mantra. They departed, his mother died, so he was left alone in the world, and he went into a forest. Many things happened, and he was just absorbed in chanting. And then the personality of Godhead appeared before him. And spoke with him. He's a little young boy. You won't see me again for the rest of your life, but please continue, because by this method you'll reach me. No, that's not necessarily going to happen to any one of us, but it happened to Narada. And how would you feel if, like, that's it? You're not going to see me again the rest of your life. Poof. He continued his practice, although the fruit was not with him for the rest of his life. Now here comes our discussion section. There's a book at the same point. Oh God, why are you too slow or so slow? Wanting quick results, but as opposed to patience. This is our discussion topic. Does Krishna take too long to respond to my prayers or my practice? If I was told by Krishna, as he did to Narada, you're not going to see me again in this lifetime, would I feel discouraged? Are we ready to wait for the reciprocation on Krishna's time, in Krishna's way, and on Krishna's terms? One of my messages is, when you surrender to Krishna, it's simple. When you surrender to Krishna, it's on his terms, not on our terms. You can't stamp your foot and say, how come it's not the way I want it to be? What's going on? Surrender means he knows best, and he'll reciprocate with us in a way. And if it's not happening the way we think it should be happening, the difficulty is on our side, not on his side. So then we continue to practice and refine the practice and continue. Just 3 days ago, I had a discussion with a god brother that from time to time, I keep in touch with him. He's a very successful personality, and he was sharing with me his spiritual success, along with the health complications and this and that and the other thing. And he has very fixed schedule, and he's not slackening in his japa. He's busy, but he's moved from 16 rounds to 20 rounds. Now he's at 25 rounds every day. And I'm thinking, wow, that's fantastic. Because he doesn't have a lot of association because he's so busy. But he's continuing, and a trajectory of getting closer to Krishna, or being present with Krishna more and more. And so some of the busy stuff is fading, and the spiritual is increasing. But it's, it's very gradual and very deliberate. I was taking, because we're all different, we all have different personalities and different lifestyles and things like that. But it's an honor to be with a person that's staying with it over that period of time and continuing and increasing, in despite the busyness and distractions and all the other things that go on in life. Okay, this is a discussion section. And this group that was 10 ladies, you break into 2, please. Figure it out somehow. A few minutes, and then we're going to move on. Okay. The good news is that the remaining classes are going to be much shorter than this one. For some reason, this class, it's been an hour and a half, and we have another section remaining. So the other classes are going to be shorter. That's the good news. So the third was nishchayad, confidence or determination. Here's facets of confidence. That is confidence that Krishna loves me. Krishna's got my backside. He's my protector and maintainer. Confident that Krishna is his name and I'm in his presence, and I'm capable of restoring my broken relationship with Krishna. Now, that's not in my power. It's the power of bhakti has that capacity. So, nice illustrations. Krishna loves me. This is Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Gopal Kumar makes his way just from chanting mantra all the way to Krishna Loka. Here's Madhavendra Puri, he's getting the association of Gopal directly in Vrindavan. And here's Raghunath Das Goswami getting the mercy of Srimati Radharani, protecting him because he's so much absorbed in chanting, the sun is burning his body. And the king, Prataparudra, is being given the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a very special way in Jagannath Puri, King Prataparudra. So it's possible by design, it's meant to happen that our relationship with Krishna becomes fully restored. And confidence in that fact, that's nishchayat. This is a nice painting. You've seen this nice painting before, I'm sure. This is Prabhupada riding in the Jaladuta, and after the second heart attack, he felt Krishna's presence touching his chest, reassuring Prabhupada he would make it to his destination. That night he had a dream. So this wasn't a dream, this was Krishna appeared. And the dream, that's the painting up above, there's the Jaladuta, but he had this, in this dream, he had this, saw this boat, and on the boat was incarnations, avatars of Krishna all over the place, ensuring safe passage. And Matsya was pulling the boat, so he was covered. Prabhupada understood, Krishna wants me to know everything's going to be all right. Lying there after 2 heart attacks, that's not, and there was no doctor. A heart attack without a doctor. And then a second one. Shoo. The quality of determination, deeply internal, if this is like the root structure of a tree, deeply internal, if ignited by a personal spiritual purpose or vision, can touch Krishna's heart. Determination in the practice of bhakti is an expression of love. And that's what attracts Krishna. Krishna is attracted by that love. And this love is expressed in the form of determination. Shri Shri Radha Madhava Hari Ki Jai. Here's a photograph of a fellow some of you know. You modern people, you may know who this fellow is. His name is Simon Sinek. And if you don't know, he's not Vyasadeva or Narada Muni, or he's a modern guy. And he's a motivation speaker type person, and he has this main message we're going to hear a couple of times about why. A whole class dedicated to why. Why chant? Why anything? So, if you have the why his teaching is, then the what and the how becomes easy. Many people ask questions during events like this or otherwise, how to, they're looking for the what or the, but not the why. The what and the how, but not the why. How can I stay steady in my enthusiasm to develop bhakti? An answer is, if you have a clear why, then the what and the how becomes easy. So suppose you don't have the clear why. Here's a whole wheelbarrow full of how and whats, and it's not going to stick. If you'd like, we'd all like, I would like for all of you that this experience of attending a Japa retreat lasts like a long time. But it's not just the how and the what. It's the why. It's a purpose. What is our purpose to chant? What vision or deep desire can enliven or fuel our determination? It can be as simple as just listen to one mantra, because that's one of the techniques, that's one of the wheelbarrow techniques. Just listen to one mantra at a time. Be present with the mantra. One mantra at a time. Don't worry about the one you didn't chant a while ago that wasn't nice, and the future ones you're going to chant later during 64 round day. One mantra at a time. Or something more esoteric. Get lost in the thought of serving Radha and Krishna in the groves of Vrindavan. What resonates with you personally? a celebrity. I learned this just yesterday. That when these devotees went to London and they tried this experiment to get celebrities and VIPs and government people, like move in that circle, they sent invitations out to people that they didn't know, but they thought they'd be like, if they came, that would be great. They got a reply from George Harrison. They didn't know him, he didn't know them, but he replied. Sorry, you won't be able to come. So he had deep inside a strong, very strong desire. The biography of his life is fantastic. I really want to know you, I really want to be with you, I really want to see you. A lyric from his song, along with his musicality, the calling out of his heart was there from way back, and who knows, prior to being George Harrison, what he was. Once our purpose is identified, pursue it. Like a dog with a bone. Dogs don't let go of bones. Through dry times, tough times, doubting times, intense and challenging times. A nice example, there's several nice examples. Here's a potter's wheel. This is a meditation from Borijan's Japa book. So reading Japa books is a nice thing to do. O holy name of Krishna, may the hard, crushing wheel of life extract humility from my offense-hardened heart. Let that humility give birth to the sweet nectar juice of devoted service to you. It's like while chanting, it's a prayer to the holy name. My heart is like this. But you have the power to soften my heart offense-laden heart. We're going to hear something about fences. Here's another nice example, determination. Salted bread. It's like a 360-page book written by one of the friends of the two Russian devotees that were put in prison for 2 years in Siberia and treated with horrific conduct and injections and drugs and zapping with electricity and tortured. And because they were vegetarian, the only thing that they could have to eat that was available in the prison was bread. But the bread was too rough and horrible. So the only thing that made it at all eatable was to add salt to the bread, because that made them salivate so they could take that bread. That's all they had for 2 years. So salted bread. That's the title of the book. One of them died in the prison, during the Soviet era. It's not the same now. And the other survived. And then a friend of the one that survived wrote the book about what they went through, because he heard from his friend what they went through. But they remained determined, somehow or another. They hadn't met Prabhupada. They hadn't a lot of things they didn't have. They didn't have a temple. They didn't have deities. They didn't have lots of things. But they had faith and determination. Apparently, they had not in prison, but they had previously a copy in Russian of Bhagavad Gita, and that was their solace. So we have so much more than such people. Places of shelter. Here's a distance runner. It is especially easy to lose hope or steam in devotional activity of japa, recognizing how little progress one has made. there was a seminar on the topic, this topic. Still chanting, still reading, hardly any progress was the theme of the presentation. Because devotees have that experience, and it's like, what's going on, and what to do, why and what to do. Maybe you're one. Yet, for the devotee, deeply experiencing that Krishna has got my back, or Krishna will protect me, despite my weak effort and correspondingly meager internal growth, is the fuel that keeps one going. So this is the relationship with Krishna. Why? Question and answer. Prabhupada, the devotee thinks, Asvasya Rakshibe Krishna, Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. This is called confidence. So Prabhupada is explaining in Nectar of Instruction this principle of confidence or patience. Here's a nice example. Some of you know this book. This is Shama Sundar holding his book and doing the audio recording of part 1. Quarantine, lost tapes, broken tape recorder, nothing seemed to rattle Prabhupada. He told the story of how in 1948, after years of labor, his 1,200-page Bhagavad Gita as it is manuscript had been stolen from his home in Calcutta. And now he had simply sat down and started over. And almost the same thing happened in New York on the Bowery. And same response, because it was just service, and the result, it means everything to some people, and service means everything to some people, not the result. And he lived that way, and he passed that on to others. Just this very phrase, Utsahandishayad Dayat, Prabhupada wrote to these devotees in London when they felt discouraged. They had made this, grand effort, and they had high hopes, and it really didn't produce much. They weren't feeling elated, but they weren't feeling, particularly encouraged either. So, Prabhupada wrote back. The service is the essence, as he was doing himself. In enthusiasm, patience, and firm conviction. Krishna will be attracted, and that's your result. Krishna will be pleased. Prabhupada was, I'll be pleased. But he didn't say, I'll be pleased. He said, Krishna will be pleased. And that's your success. The Krishna will smile. That's bhakti, isn't it? Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. That's bhakti, by definition. We're getting close to finishing. As time is moving. The hands of the clock keep moving. Doubting, which is the opposite of this patience, brings inauspiciousness. Bhagavad Gita 4:40. Therefore, Vedic statements ascertained by the previous Mahajans as relating to the qualification for devotion are called amnaya. And it is necessary to learn them. What's mandatory. We should be well acquainted. We may not be in the beginning, but become well acquainted with what is unchanging realities. It is impossible to enter into the inconceivable nature without receiving the full mercy of the spiritual master. Doubts in the essential truths of devotional service disqualifies one from devotional service. So here's our last slide. Yay. Another discussion topic. You can read what it says. I don't have to read it to you. This is on confidence and determination. You did very well with the other discussion group. And then we're going to, I don't know about questions because of time. It's late. Maybe we'll skip the discussion. We'll just go to see if there's any comments or questions because of time. Any burning questions? If not, we'll go take Prashadam. Yeah.
Thank you. So, yesterday, when I asked you a question, you told me to look at Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.8.
Yeah, I gave you the wrong number. 10.14.3. It was my mistake.
Oh, man. All right, what is my question?
Okay. Okay.
Oh, I'll just answer that question.
Okay.
So, in that verse, let me open it. So the translation was, "My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your blessing."
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, you know it. It mentioned that even when a devotee suffers, it is a special cosmos mercy of the Lord. How can we figure out the difference between ordinary, karmic?
Oh, it's easy. Piece of cake. A piece of cake. You engage in devotional service, and you're no longer in the care of the external energy. Say it the other way. Through devotional service, you're in the care of the internal energy. Say it the other way. By devotional service, you're no longer under the influence of the... That is, karma is no longer the rule. Karma is the rule for those that don't have devotional service. You know, good and bad and mixed. And the reactions to that good and bad and mixed. That's the material law. The material law, karma, is a material law. It doesn't apply. So the answer to your question is, you engage in devotional service. And it's no longer a karmic event. It's a Krishna's arranging something for you event. Here's it, elaborate. Even Bhakti Abbas, supposing I'm not a pure devotee, supposing. Well, we're all not pure devotees. Supposing someone's not a pure devotee, like us. And then they're engaged in some activity, but not pure. Bhakti Abbas, the shadow of Bhakti, has the power to dissolve karma. Prarabdha karma. You know the word, prarabdha? It's karma that's happening now, fructifying now. Like in spring season, leaves come out of the tree because it's spring season. So when reactions arise due to my past misdeeds, that's prarabdha karma. But it doesn't. But prarabdha karma, bhakti that's not mature, there's still seeds within. There's still tendencies, and those tendencies may come out. As long as I stay fixed in devotional service, those tendencies are checked. That's a big if or condition. I'm elaborating on the question. Pardon me. Okay. Others? Yes, all the way in the back.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much for the nice class. So Maharaj, you mentioned about enthusiasm.
I did.
We often feel enthusiastic, but that's very flickering. That doesn't last for.
Oh.
Same is true with determination and patience.
Sometimes not. Sometimes not.
So how do you keep
You read the verse, utsahan, and how do you sustain enthusiasm? That's your question. Nishchaya dharyat.
Sometimes that is also
Flickering. So how do you become no longer flickering? Purity. by sadhana properly performed, what happens? Unwanted things are eradicated. Isn't that how it's taught? Adaushadha, tata sadhusanga, bhajana kriya, anartha nivritti. So those things, we're going to hear more about it tomorrow, but the unwanted things that cause unsteadiness, the lighter ones are material tendency, the heavier ones are due to offenses. So we're going to hear more about it. But those are true causes of unsteadiness. Residual tendencies that are on the material side. I'm attracted to fill in the blank. So although I'm engaged in bhakti, my attention is over there in those things that I'm attracted to. And it can hold in place for a long time, and then somebody does something cuckoo because that tendency was within inside. And that has to do with slackening in bhakti. So guess what? We're going to hear about slackening in bhakti tomorrow. But that slackening is a phrase that Bhaktivinoda Thakur used. As long as we don't, so stay, this, it sounds like a rhetorical question. That is, your question is how to remain enthusiastic. And as long as we don't slacken, we're protected. But that's my question, Maharaj. And my question is, how do I stay enthusiastic so I don't slacken? And it's going to happen because of the contamination that's within. There's going to be, I call it a sine curve. That's the beginning. So how do you get two things? That's another way of asking your question. How do you change the amplitude? And how do you get the slope to start going up instead of, horizontal, up and down and up and down, steady, unsteady, enthusiastic, unenthusiastic? It's purification. Stay with the bhakti process. Stay in good association, and with whatever sincerity you have, apply yourself sincerely to whatever it is that you can do. And chanting is the central focus point. That's why we're having a Japa retreat. But, studying of Shastra is another big one. Deity worship is another one. Association and serving the devotees is another one. Taking Krishna Prasadam is another one. Purification, so that the unwanted things are eliminated gradually. And be patient, because it takes time for unwanted things to go away. Especially our favorite ones. Okay? Yes. Hare Krishna. You're on.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. It was a very clear and wonderful presentation. In regards to determination, I like this slide that says, the quality of determination is deeply internal, if ignited by a personal, spiritual purpose or vision, can touch Krishna's heart. And I'm having a question about deeply internal and also spiritual purpose or vision. Is that purpose and vision? Why doesn't it say it's personal if we all point to the same vision and the same purpose?
Well, it's just emphasizing reality. You were speaking quickly, and I didn't catch all of what you said because you were speaking quickly. But I think the essence of your question is, why is this word personal in there? Because it is personal. Because it is. It's just a reminder of the reality. Because the tendency is la-la. We get caught in non-reality. And we forget. Even we know, we forget. So we need repetition and reminders, because we have a tendency to forget. Does that answer your question, or is that, I'm not sure I heard, I'm not sure, I'm really not clear what your question is.
The question is, if you could maybe unpack the meaning deeply internal.
If I can do what?
The meaning of deeply internal.
Being what?
The quality of determination, deeply internal.
Ah, okay. You want to know that one? Determination is deeply internal. Yes? What's the meaning? Well, two things. What's inside comes out. A principle of life. What's inside comes out. So supposing, like, this question of enthusiasm. Supposing I'm enthusiastic for 5 minutes and then I get distracted. Supposing I'm being attentive when chanting, and then, a couple mantras later, I realize I've lost my attentiveness. I'm not being attentive anymore, not being present with Krishna anymore. So then it's practice, and then therefore it's internal to be in my relationship with Krishna. But I can't see Krishna, I can't experience Krishna because I'm covered. But I have faith, and I have teachers and teachings that tell me the name and Krishna are not different, or the deity. And we're going to hear something tomorrow about devotees that spent their whole time conversing with their deity. And that was their life. And they were oblivious to anything else. And people didn't understand them. Many people didn't understand them. But they were so they didn't need a reminder. And most of us need reminders. So that's there because we need reminders. It's inside it, that's how you live your life. That's what's outside. So, and it's not perceivable except when it becomes matured, and then it's perceivable. And people may not understand. That's okay. But it's internal. It's like the Avadhuta Brahman. He was behaving in the way that he was behaving because it was internal. And people didn't understand him. And so they taunted him and tormented him and spat on him and so forth. And he was internal. And then something prompted and he spoke. Okay.
It becomes the moving force of the determination and internal.
Yeah. The image towards the beginning was the roots of a tree, and then there's the tree. You see the tree, but you don't see the roots of the tree. But the roots of the tree is what supports the tree. Besides the nourishment, stability of the tree, it's the root system. And you don't see it. You see the tree, the upper part. Okay. Yes. You get the last question because of time. It's already 9 o'clock.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. What is the hope for fallen souls like me who have lost the sense of purpose? I feel satisfied with 8 rounds. I can't get myself to move to the next level. I'm in my comfort zone and I can't push myself to the next level.
Well, Krishna may be very kind. He may come along and kick you in the seat of the pants. But otherwise, what you're saying is what's in these images, in these messages. Be patient. Because the process is purifying. And little drops of water wear away the stone, that saying. So just let the water keep dropping. And that hard-heartedness can become softened. So that you're acknowledging it in this public forum like this indicates Now there's acknowledgement and acceptance of your condition, but Krishna already knows. Now, what's your relationship with Krishna like? And you continue, that says something about your relationship with Krishna. Doesn't it? There's some faith, because otherwise why would you continue? You wouldn't. Go somewhere else, do something else.
Yeah, I sincerely chant 8 rounds a day, but I can't go to the next level. I can't.
No, you can say can't, but that's silly. You don't. Krishna can pick you up by the collar and drop you. It's a material conception, and the material conception is not going to get you there. There's a spiritual force or power can, and it's not you. It's the sending mercy. Now, how eager are you? That's another question. But so Krishna is not going to interfere with your free will, but if you continue with the practice, and that's an indication of an exhibition of free will. And incrementally, proportionately, Krishna can take you to the next level, despite your, shortcomings and being stuck and all of that. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And tomorrow's classes will be shorter, I promise. And you just...
Hare Krishna, everyone. A big round of applause for His Holiness Romapada Swami. Thank you, Maharaj, for a wonderful class. I know that we are over time, so just a quick reminder. Tomorrow's after Mangalarti and so forth. Maharaj's class is at 7:30, and then 10:15 we have His Grace Yamuna Jivan Prabhu, and then one more class by him at 1:15. And then 4 o'clock class by Maharaj. So the schedules are in the temple, put up in the temple, posted in the temple, and on our website, Facebook page, and our WhatsApp groups. If you need any more information, please call the temple and we can read out the schedule for you. So we have prasadam now. Tomorrow we'll have breakfast, lunch and dinner served at the temple. So you don't need to go to and fro from home. You can just stay here and make the most of this Japa retreat this weekend. And same applies on Sunday. We'll have breakfast, lunch and dinner provided at the temple, so you don't have to go to and fro. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Hare Krishna. Prasadam will be served in a couple of minutes. Hare Krishna. You need to switch it off.
I haven't switched off.